Welcome to Mineral Talks Live, the monthly live mineral webinar that brings you in-depth and in-person interviews with mineral people from around the world. Mineral Talks Live is brought to you by a joint effort among the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, the SMMP, and Blue Cap Productions. Tune in on the first Wednesday of every month and stay connected to your mineral world. Now, broadcasting live from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, the land of aloha, ukuleles, and shakas, this is Mineral Talks Live. Happy New Year, everyone. Today is Wednesday, January 12th, and we'd like to welcome you to the first Mineral Talks Live episode of 2022. For those of you tuning in for the first time, Mineral Talks Live is the monthly mineral talk show where we sit down with people from all facets of the mineral world to learn more about what they do, who they are, and what makes them tick. I'm Brian Swoboda, the president of Blue Cap Productions, and I've been honored to form this partnership with my longtime friends, Dr. Raquel Alonso Perez from the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, and Dr. Eloise Gaillou from the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, also known as the SMMP. We started the show in the summer of 2020, and now as we enter into 2022, we have no plans of slowing down. Throughout this time of producing Mineral Talks Live, we've been able to sit down and chat with some of the best curatrix, curators, collectors, dealers, miners, researchers, artists, and media people in the mineral world. Speaking for the three of us, we're having an absolute blast, and we appreciate all of you who have been along for the ride. If you'd like to help us in keeping these episodes coming, go ahead and tell your friends about our little show and have them tune in every month. I promise you we'll continue to get interesting people from all over the mineral world. Now, one thing about this show that's unique is that this isn't just a conversation between me and our guests. All of you get to be a part of the show by participating through the chat feature or the Q&A feature, both of which are located at the bottom of your Zoom window. The chat feature allows you to type messages to everyone watching the live show. When you first sign on, go ahead and fire off a hello to everyone telling us where you're from, because we love to see who we're reaching. Also, if you have any general thoughts or comments during the show, this is where you can post them and interact with each other while we're talking. Usually our guests and I aren't able to read those comments, but never fear. Raquel and Eloise will be very active in the chat area and may even interject a question or two to us during the interview. And if you happen to have a question that may not be directly related to what we're discussing at the moment, go ahead and type that question into the Q&A section, and we'll do our best to ask our guest your question at the end of the show. Finally, at about 40 minutes into the program, you'll see a window pop up on the screen asking a bunch of questions for our Quickfire 5 segment. This is where we get to see how well you know our guest, as we ask them 5 somewhat random questions about themselves. Sometimes we don't even know the answers, so it's all good fun. Now, for today's program, we're going to head off to a place that has everyone's attention in the mineral world right now. Why? Well, it's the second week of January, and as of right now, Tucson is still on. When it comes to Tucson, and you start thinking about big projects that have been in the works for years, one project immediately jumps to the top of the list: the Mineral Museum at the University of Arizona, otherwise known as the Alfie Norville Gem and Mineral Museum, located in the Pima County Courthouse in downtown Tucson, one of the most iconic and historic buildings in all of Arizona. Now, one look at this building, and you already start to believe that you're in for a real treat. One step into the museum itself, and you know that you're right. I can sit here and wax poetically about the museum, but why do that when we have the director of the museum, Mr. Eric Fritz, right here on the program with us? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, my friend and yours, Mr. Eric Fritz. Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, Brian. Thank you so much, and thank everyone for joining us today. We certainly hope to give you a sneak preview of what we've been doing over the past 4 years.
Well, Eric, we are really looking forward to it. Before we kind of start getting into the questions, why don't we do a brief hello to your staff that's standing there right there, and you can kind of maybe show us the courtyard, and then we're going to start getting into the interview a little bit.
Absolutely. So it's sunny in Tucson. I want to introduce my staff. There are 4 of us here today. First of all, we have Susan Live, our curator, also finishing up her PhD at Texas Tech while working full-time with us. And you'll hear a lot more from Susan as we take you behind the scenes a bit later in the broadcast. Thanks, Susan. Next, we have our exhibit specialist, Elizabeth Gass, who has touched every single specimen that you're going to see on display today in the exhibit space. We'll see more from Elizabeth very shortly as well, as she points out some of her favorite things. Thanks, Elizabeth. And then we have Jordan Halter. Jordan is our guest services coordinator, probably the most important part of a museum experience. She's the one that makes sure that guests have a positive experience. She's put together a dynamic team of docents, well-trained, moving forward. And we are so pleased to have student workers from the U of A working at our front desk. Just the close ties between Pima County, the city of Tucson, and the U of A in this fantastic facility. We'll join Jordan again in a few minutes as well.
Fantastic. Eric, thank you for that. And I know that since you are in Pima County, there is a mask mandate for all indoor spaces, and that's why we wanted to take a look at their faces outside where it was safe before we went into the museum.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Now, Eric, before we start exploring this fantastic museum, let's indulge in a little tradition we have here on the show and get a little background information on you. Rather than starting with questions about minerals, I want to go back to the very beginning. Now, I've been to your house, and I know that you're a passionate and a prolific collector of many things. Tell us about what started that passion for discovery in you.
Sure. I think it was much like so many people. We're out exploring the natural world. Certainly, I spent most of my youth outside. The first things I collected were probably more rocks than minerals because I was picking up everything that looked interesting outside. I was also very fortunate that my family spent a few weeks every year at the seashore in North Carolina, and I became fascinated by shells as well, everything nautical, and started simultaneously a shell collection alongside the rocks, and then attending our local shows very heavily into minerals themselves.
And so that has really just developed, and you're a voracious collector, I would say.
Pretty much, I tell everyone I only collect one thing. It's natural history, which accounts for rocks, minerals, shells, fossils, meteorites, and anything else I can make fit that category, which is pretty much anything else I like in life, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you also have a beautiful knife collection. What is it, Damascus steel?
Yes, so I got a little burned out on collecting minerals and collecting gemstones, so I started collecting Damascus steel knives with gem material handles. So again, you know, whatever I can make fit, I do make fit.
That's terrific. So now, fill in the gap. You went from collecting rocks and seashells and, you know, other things, and eventually that led you to become director of one of the most eagerly anticipated mineral museums in our community. There's a big jump there. Kind of fill that space in for us, if you would.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think everyone's journey can be a twisted journey, of course. I think how I probably ended up here, I became a part-time mineral dealer when I was living in North Carolina, and I started finding there were gemstones mixed in with the minerals. And I thought, how hard can that be? You know, the purple ones are amethysts, the red ones are ruby, and the green ones are emeralds. And then there would be these bright orange ones and these really dispersive yellow ones. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work so well. So I started coming to Tucson, attending all of the seminars, the trade shows, trying to learn what I could. I knew that I would need a trade certification on the advice of some of industry's greatest. I was steered towards Gem A. I did the Gem A classes in my late 40s and early 50s, became just mesmerized with how minerals I've known all my life could be cut and fashioned as gem materials. that ended up with me being offered a job with Gem A, which later progressed to be manager for North America. I was asked where I wanted to live, being manager of North America. I think my first response was the Caribbean. I couldn't quite make that a good sell. My second response was Tucson, which I thought made sense, but I had to really defend it. And part of my defense was the outstanding geoscience department at the University of Arizona, top 5 in the nation. And could we somehow create a synergy between the great mineralogy, the gem shows, and gem education? And I got to meet Bob Downs for the first time ever. I made an appointment and went over there in a coat and tie. Those of you that know Bob, he's like, coat and tie here.
What did he ask you? You going to a funeral after the interview?
I got introduced within a week to the then Dean of Science, Dr. Joaquin Ruiz, who's my current boss now. We were able to promote, and you'll hear more from Susan later. Susan and I taught the first gem science class at the U of A this past fall. So talk about coming full circle. And then when the museum project started and we started investigating what does it take to build a museum, I had no museum background. No one else really did. We had always showcased our exhibit at the basement of Flandreau. I was asked if I'd be interested. A lot of people knew that I collected and knew just a little bit about everything that could possibly be in a museum. Mm-hmm. And I said, sure, let's see where it goes. So we'll let our viewers today and our guests coming to Tucson see how we did.
Oh, fantastic. So now that was a huge thing that was on your plate. So what's the biggest challenge that you found in creating this museum, and how did you overcome and address that challenge?
Yeah, I never really viewed it as a challenge. Okay. We had the advisory board that had helped with Flandreau through the years. Of course, Dr. Downs was instrumental. He had a grand vision for what this museum should be, could be. We had a lot of industry experts and a lot of collectors. And, I saw that my task wasn't to recreate things, but to take everyone's input and see what we can make work together. And I think we did a pretty good job of it. Certainly everybody didn't get exactly what they wanted. But I think what really makes this a great facility is collaboration. And you're going to hear me talk about that a lot today because it's the key to this museum. And it's much more than it really seems. It's not just lip service. So I think that was the greatest challenge and the greatest asset all at the same time. I used to show slides in my presentations to the advisory board of cat herding. We had a video from the Super Bowl, and pretty much that's what it was. I was the cat herder.
Wonderful. Now, when we talk about the museum, it's not just a museum, it's also a learning center focused on providing education and resources to students. So talk to us a little bit about that vision there.
Sure. And, when I came to the University of Arizona, it started as a land grant just over 100 and some years ago. Mm-hmm. And the mission then was to provide education, outreach, and research. And we've taken that very seriously here at the museum. We've again taken our own spin on that, not knowing what all that really means. We decided what it means, and that's kind of our goal in life. Of course, the outreach has a dual fold. It's the exhibits people can come and see. It's also offering education to the community at large. And that picks up on the education as well, not just for university students, but for trade in the industry and for the community. We're very passionate about that. And then you'll see the space that we designated from the beginning for a world-class research lab. Again, not just for university researchers. We're really adamant about being able to provide that sort of resource for undergraduate students and even expanding that to high school students. where we can get people excited, and it's not just lecture learning, but they actually have hands-on. And Susan will talk a little bit more about our approach to this past semester's gem science, where there was probably as much or more gem science hands-on than it was actual lecture.
You know, that's one of the things that makes me so excited about the museum. On its surface, just the facade, just by walking through the museum, anyone is going to be impressed by it. But there is so much more underneath the surface, so much more that you're doing to give back to the community. And I think that's what is going to make this museum such a huge hit. I mean, it's already, everyone who's been there has already been blown away, but all of the stuff that you're constantly giving back is really, it's exactly what we need in this community. Now, as many of our viewers are kind of gearing up and getting ready to make the big trek to Tucson, what are some of the things that people can do when they arrive to help support the museum and what you're doing there?
Yeah, great question. Of course, you know, none of us really wanted COVID to still be around at this point.
Right.
What we're doing within the museum is trying to mitigate that as much as possible. For the museum, for the visitor experience, there is a requirement of having masks. We have masks available for everyone. Staff will switch over to KN95 masks today. Our staff, we apologize, but our staff being very small, we will be behind the scenes a lot of the time during Tucson, so we can make sure that the museum remains open for everyone. We're working downstairs. We have 4 great areas we're going to share with everyone today, and pretty much each of us is taking our own spot. So on that rare chance that one of us were to conceive COVID and share it with each other as we work so closely together. As far as what everyone can do for us, again, that word collaboration, we want everybody to be a part of this museum. You're going to see a lot of people that are already part. We're always looking for new loans for exhibits. We're looking for new donations. We're looking for monetary support. Somehow we have to pay for this great thing we've built. But there's something I think everyone can contribute. I know when I used to come to Tucson, a lot of people would bring their spouse along that didn't really want to go to the shows. You know, next year you can reach out to Jordan. Maybe you want to be a docent for 2 or 3 days during your trip. It's so rewarding to see people's reaction and just be able to interact with everybody in the space that we've created here. So no matter what your thoughts are, no matter how small or how grandiose, I promise you one of us can certainly find a place for you at the U of A Alfie Norville Gem and Mineral Museum.
I love it. All they have to do is reach out and ask you how they can be of service. That's fantastic. Now, Eric, I can go on and on and on and on and on with questions. As people who know you know, you're a very easy person to talk to. But I know there's a lot to see in the museum. So why don't I shut up, and I know Raquel is nodding her head in the background, and let you go ahead and take us for a tour inside the Alfie Norville Gem and Mineral Museum. Okay, so this is the entrance into the museum from the courtyard, and I'm going to let Eric describe what we're seeing from here on out.
Sure. This is a shared lobby with Pima County, and these cases are intended to be new donations. I think one of the greatest things that I learned from Bob Downs was that we really want to highlight our donors. Our entire collection has been built on donations. And he was always adamant that if we get a good donation, it needs to go on display within a matter of days. So what we have done, we have honored that, and we continue doing that. What you're seeing here are all donations, with the exception of one shelf that I'll point out, that have been made since this museum came to be. So very modern, just this week, and it's going to be a little washed out, but we got a very great molybdenite specimen. Somebody that wanted to be part of the museum, of course, the 2 of the 3 volumes from the Graham family and the mineralogy of Bisbee. And then who you'll hear a lot more from later, the Somewhere in the Rainbow collection, who has really made our whole gem gallery sparkle. These are new acquisitions. They haven't donated them yet, but I'm going to say that outright just to plant that bug. But since we programmed this a couple of years ago, this is all new stuff that they've just gotten, and we wanted to highlight that as well. But again, beautiful mineral specimens and all donated and all of support for the U of A. Again, a shared lobby, a laser cut. We can look at a little more, the Catalina Mountains, Finger Rock there in the middle, laser cut in Finland. This was provided by Pima County as part of our shared lobby. And since we're going to end up downstairs, I'll show you what you see as you leave the museum. Beautiful cactus photography, printed on steel by Dr. John Schaefer, a past president of the U of A. Interestingly, Alfie Norville brought John Schaefer through a few weeks ago. And if you follow our website and social media, Dr. Schaefer has made a monetary commitment to this museum. Main lobby, of course, the museum was named after Alfie Norville by the Norville family. Alan and Alfie started the GJX show, one of the big shows during Tucson. And we're just very indebted because that commitment allowed this museum to be a real thing. The university saw that there would be a commitment from the public, and we're just really excited. And then, of course, our guest services area and Jordan again. Jordan, why don't you describe a little bit about your day-to-day job?
Oh, it changes daily. The museum has an ever-evolving agenda, so we have different guided tours that we schedule ahead of time. We also offer self-guided admission. So Jaden here's about to bring up some guests. We also have docents throughout the museum with a variety of experience as well. So it's a lot of fun and every day is different.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. As soon as it was announced that we would have a museum here at the U of A at the Pima County Courthouse building, John and Cheryl Anderson reached out and said, how would you like an iconic quartz crystal from Arkansas as a showpiece for your lobby? One of the things that I like to say is that I never say no, although those of you that know me and ask for something crazy will know that I do say no. But when it comes to donations, you know, it's just really a fabulous way. The whole University of Arizona mineral collection has been built by donations over the past 102 years. So we really take our donors very seriously. The Moonsteiners and Eder Oberstein had created this beautiful sculpture, Visions in Crystal, all hand-cut quartz tiles done over about a 3-year period. They offered this on semi-permanent loan with the assurance that if it was ever sold, they would equally supply us with another beautiful piece. So it's very interesting that it just happened to work out to have quartz as produced by nature as well as quartz by man's inspiration, which again became a current theme of our museum. 3 main galleries. The first one explores the scientific theory of mineral evolution. Dr. Hazen, I think, spoke a few sessions ago, the father, who we refer to as the father of the mineral evolution theory, and working very closely with our own Dr. Bob Downs over the years, I think 15 years, on how minerals have changed over time. In each set of cases in this gallery, we explore one of the possible ways that minerals have changed, especially on Earth, knowing that when the first accretion occurred at the origin of our solar system, there maybe were only 60 minerals. And now here on Earth, 5,600 and counting. So it's a fascinating story, especially for visitors that maybe aren't so much into rocks and minerals. We've created storylines, a lot of visuals. Our museum, you know, we know that during the gem show, it's a fantastic experience, but it just needs to be a year round and, you know, for people of all levels. And we've been really pleased with the feedback from people that aren't mineral collectors that come in and see this as an art gallery, and that was the intent.
Yeah.
Projections on both walls. And a mineral timeline. This represents a mineral that we believe occurs every 500 million years from pre-solar system, diamond clouds. Diamonds may be the first mineral that we know, starting with 4.5 billion years ago in a beautiful forsterite from right here in Arizona, Peridot Mesa. Of course, a lot of that knowledge comes from the study of meteorites. So we've got a great collection of meteorites here at the museum and a few loans as well. Just exploring what maybe represents the core of our Earth with some of these stony and iron meteorites. Another emphasis was on touchables. You know, when we designed this museum, people were eager to touch things. Right now, not so much, but a great 410-pound Canyon Diablo meteorite from, again, right here in Arizona. We've got a nice rare earth magnet so people can actually engage and see how magnetic it really is. The other thing about meteorites, the more they're handled, the better the patina. So we're actually asking our visitors to polish this for us. Projection globe, highlighting again some of the dynamics of Earth itself. And then, of course, people come to see pretty minerals. So we have those as well. A great stibnite from China, on loan by Dr. Rob Levinsky. And interestingly, a lot of people remembered seeing this in Flandreau Planetarium. It was out in the corridor and there was no light in the case. Elizabeth's done a wonderful job lighting all of our specimens, and this is probably one of 2 most photographed specimens in the entire museum. We've done something that we think is unique, and that is create a story from the beginning of minerals, the beginning of the solar system, all the way through to a living end where we discuss man's inspiration with the lapidary arts, and even technology, where we're taking things, making synthetics, just the whole story of how the interaction of man and life together alongside the mineral evolution. So we look at things like mineral diversity. On the top, another great forsterite specimen from Peridot Mesa, where we believe there are only about 7 minerals found in that location. Less than 100 miles to the south in Bisbee, one of the most abundant in the entire world. Interesting. 330 minerals. Showing people that garnets, tourmaline as well, aren't really minerals. It's a whole group of diverse minerals, all sharing a similar chemistry and a similar crystal structure. But what a great opportunity to give people a tidbit of knowledge that everybody doesn't know on an ongoing basis. We look at things like ocean chemistry, of course, transportation of materials around. Beautiful banded iron specimen on the back wall, where we believe when the cyanobacteria and the oxygen atmosphere occurred, the ionic state of some elements like copper and iron and uranium changed, and we had more than one oxidation state, and a whole new suite, possibly even doubling the number of minerals on Earth. This amethyst with the calcite, a donation by the Myron family. This is my favorite aesthetic specimen in the entire museum. And I hope Gene's not listening right now because I really hate to bump that up, but it's just phenomenal.
You're out of luck because I know he's watching.
I knew he was too. This one though, again, one of the most photographed in here. Interestingly, we had a tour through the U of A Foundation this week. They're our fundraising group, our nonprofit for the university. And one of the young ladies came in and she said, my grandmother donated specimens and I can't wait to see them. Our collection is probably over 20,000, probably only 1,000 of our collection on display. And I thought, this isn't going to end well. Our case of zeolite, she found 3 specimens that belonged to her grandmother, Pat Rhodes. Talk about a lucky break for me. But again, showing that zeolites form later in the mineralogical story and just engaging people along those lines. And then fossils. You know, we always had fossils at Flandreau. You had to kind of know they were there. Arizona, you know, with the beautiful petrified woods and an outstanding collection of trilobites. Again, thanks to Dr. Hazen, who donated these to us. We've got a lot on display and a lot more that we can substitute out. Interestingly, of course, our petrified woods, and one thing I always like to point out is the bright green one, colored by chromium, the same element that colors our rubies and emeralds. Very rare occurrence. To my knowledge, the other green woods around the world are colored by vanadium. And then highlighting that we have a state dinosaur, Sonorosaurus thompsoni. If anyone is in my age group, it would have looked very much like Dino on the Flintstones, a plant eater. We have on loan from the Desert Museum the actual bones that were recovered from Sonorosaurus.
Is it just me, or does that dinosaur kind of remind you of Les Presmick as well?
That's a different story for a different gallery. That quickly. And then just so pleased with beautiful mineral specimens, being able to tell these stories by showcasing some of the best of the best. This showcase, we basically just talk about gem minerals and pegmatite formations. The first case to the right, I guess it's to the right, a nice selection of Chinese minerals. When we were building out the space last year, of course, there wasn't a gem show. Dr. Levinsky's always been a great supporter of the museum. And he reached out and said, I'm not going to be able to bring those quickly, but I have a customer in Tucson and maybe he could help you and you could showcase some of his minerals. Tom Zhang, who is a 20-year-old U of A student from China, avid mineral collector and dealer. But he came over on a Thursday afternoon and looked at the space. We built a delightful relationship with Tom. I think he came on a Thursday afternoon and he was a little concerned. When do you need the specimens? I'm not sure I could get back over there before first thing Monday morning. So again, a great collection of minerals that Tom has done. Tom was also one of our students in our first gem science course this fall.
Neat.
And then the Myron family offered us 2 sets of minerals, since we have a little more space for display here. A collection from Afghanistan and Pakistan, and a collection mirrored from Brazil. And people stand in front of this case. It's a little hard to tell with their mask on, but it is a jaw-dropping case. And it's interesting because people that come into the museum as groups typically are talking with one another. When they get to this cases and this wall, there's almost a reverence because it's just so spellbinding that nature can create such pieces. And finally, in this gallery, we explore the concept of how have man and minerals evolved together. Of course, we start off with the Stone Age and man making implements out of found objects, and then moving into the Iron and Bronze Age, where he finds that he can heat up some of these rocks and minerals and be able to work the materials much better. Moving on to the age of synthetics and looking at all the beautiful forms of natural quartz, understanding that quartz can be stripped of oxygen and create silicon discs, which is the heart of our technology today, and introducing the fact that while synthetic diamonds may be controversial in the world of gems and jewelry, the intent is possibly that'll be the next superconductors as the technology for growing diamonds expands.
Wow.
And then looking at radioactives and taking it in a little better light. Of course, we got a great specimen of trinitite, a new mineral formed by the testing of the first atomic bomb in Trinity Site, New Mexico. Also highlighting the orange and red Fiesta ware, colored by uranium, and the beautiful green depression glass, which often has residual radiation levels. And then just presenting radioactives as means for nuclear medicine and how we're actually able to treat and potentially cure diseases that even 10 years ago were unapproachable. And then we sort of
kind of the opening gallery. And it
yes,
so we have going on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 galleries. If I go too slow, just speed me up. We end up then in Arizona. How have minerals evolved in Arizona? Of course, the petrified wood would have been a temperate to tropical rainforest. Rim of the Grand Canyon, uranium mining for many years. There was an inland sea that split Arizona as we know it today in half. Underground caverns full of halite, salt, mined for table salt in the 1900s. And then exploring places like Jerome, Arizona, where fires burn for over 30 years, and going back in and finding new minerals or alterations to minerals from whatever atmosphere that was formed by. And then finally, and those of you visiting Flandreau might remember these oil paintings, although most people do not. They were just scattered about. Commissioned by Phelps Dodge in the 1920s, New England artist who came out, sketched and drew all of these, and then went back to New England and painted them. The urban legend
paintings.
Yes, fabulous. The urban legend is the artist never returned to Arizona. We assume he came in the summer. We like people to come in the summer and not think it's a good place to live, but anyway, we are. And that takes us into gallery number 2, which is the mineralogy of Arizona and Mexico. Of course, early mining in Mexico, Arizona, we know was probably for turquoise. We have actual artifacts on loan by our state museum dating back over 1,000 years, made by indigenous people in the Tucson Basin. A lot of people don't realize that there have been people and civilization in this area of the world for over 4,000 years. Researchers looked at the turquoise from the Aztec mosaics, graduate students at the University of Arizona. Anthropologists always thought that this turquoise came from New Mexico or Arizona. They did isotope analysis and they were able to plot Sleeping Beauty and Kingman in Arizona and 5 sites in New Mexico. When they compared it to the turquoise in the mosaics, it did not match a bit. They looked at other copper-bearing minerals in the land of the Aztecs and found that the ratios were very similar. So we really rewrote anthropology that there probably were turquoise deposits that later got played out, got mined out by the effectiveness.
Interesting.
Of course, people came to Arizona looking for gold. They found gold. They found silver. But what really made Arizona the place was copper. And what better place to talk about copper than Bisbee, Arizona? A brief history of Bisbee. Bisbee was unique because the miners appreciated the mineralogy and they preserved a lot of specimens. A lot of them educated at Princeton would send those specimens back to their alma mater. A lot of them came to the U of A. A few years back, Princeton reached out and asked us if we would like to have all of those specimens back, which we did. Dr. Downs had a student working in the museum at the time, and as they were unpacking and cataloging the specimens, the student said, "Wait 1 minute," went to the back, got a small piece of azurite from one of the drawers in the back. It fit perfectly in with one of the specimens returned from Princeton. How cool is that?
That is incredible. Hey, Eric, before you go on, could you zoom in on some of those Arizona golds? I remember just being so kind of breathtaking by them.
Sure. So we have, and again, another great collaboration here. We have gold on loan by the Flag Foundation, Evan and Melissa Jones, Les Presnick, just some incredible pieces. And then as I was working last March, I got a call on these on the top shelf. This is the Bank of Arizona Gold Collection, which had been curated by Wells Fargo. They were on display in the museum in Phoenix. They were closing the museum. I got a call on a Thursday afternoon asking if we would be interested, that there were at least 6 other museums interested in the collection. Of course, the answer is yes, as I mentioned earlier. And they said, fine, just write an article why we should pick you, and we need it by noon tomorrow to present to our board of directors. I did write the article, and we did get the collection, but phenomenal, all collected in Yavapai County in the late 1800s. The big golden quartz in the middle is hand engraved Bank of Arizona. I mean, how cool is that?
So now, Eric, you said the late 1800s. So we had 1849 as the California Gold Rush, 1859-ish as the Colorado Gold Rush. When was the Arizona Gold Rush?
So actually, 1949, people heading to Arizona, heading to California, and the gold rush was over. You know, it lasted well less than a year. So they started prospecting around in Arizona and found enough to keep the interest moving. This particular collection just happened to be a little later. The gold rush was still on. A lot of them came mounted on stick pins. You know, it was portable wealth. You could just wear your wealth on there.
I love it.
I can only imagine that these were cashed in at the bank. And again, the bank realizing the heritage and capitalizing on those.
Wonderful.
I'm going to zoom in now on Elizabeth, let her talk for a while, tell about her experience putting things in and maybe what she likes. She looks dark because we're in a recreated stope. Really very thankful to the entire Graham family for helping us get this as good as we did.
So as Eric said, just our experience here has been absolutely amazing. I came here in February and immediately hit the ground running. I don't think I had much time to unpack and basically breathe a little bit. But it was just absolutely incredible getting to place all of these specimens, doing all the lighting for them. I want to point out one of my favorite exhibits. And funny enough, I actually didn't touch these. These are the only case that I didn't. And it was because when you put it in, you have to take this piece of metal out. So by the time I got here, it was all installed. But I absolutely love these pieces. When I heard Eric talk, I was like, oh, that was what I wanted to talk about. But I particularly love these just absolutely beautiful, like, I hate to say the sparkly specimens, but they catch my eye more. And I love the history. So I'm a big history nerd and absolutely love all the amazing history that Arizona has to offer us.
And tell us a little about what we'll see as we go into this gallery.
Okay, well, so as we enter into our Arizona and Mexico gallery, we have an amazing interactive exhibit. And so this is a to-scale drawing of the mining done at the Copper Queen and some of the other auxiliary mines that are there. And this was also done by, I think it was the great-grandson, the grandson?
Richard Graham.
Done by Richard Graham. And we are very thankful for this. I think it's one of the coolest pieces of art I've ever seen for mining. And so on here we have little all about what you're inside our larger picture.
We're having a little bit of a video breakup there, but I think people get the idea that it's an interactive exhibit that teaches you about the different parts of that map. Are we going to look at the stope that was recreated there?
Yes, we can.
Can you see it now?
I can see it now.
Yeah, you got to realize we froze up because we were deep underground in the stope in the mine of Bisbee.
For people unfamiliar about this, explain to the audience what we're looking at, who created it, and why this is so significant.
Right, yes. This was really the passion of Dick Graham and his sons and daughters, for that matter, but to show what it would have looked like for those early miners in the late 1800s that broke into these huge underground caverns, unlike anywhere else. Kind of glittering with the blue azurites, the green malachites, the stalactites colored by copper. And Dick worked very closely to help us get this right. We actually had a local fabricator that we took underground with Douglas in Bisbee. Could hear the ring of hard hats, people not used to being underground, blinking the entire time. Made photographs. Dick and Richard and Douglas all met at the fabricators, and we looked at what they had created. It seemed to be going well until Dick went silent. And then he said, now let me tell you what you need to fix. And it was a 30-minute geology lesson. And then we were so fortunate to be able to bring Dick and his entire family through the museum. And he said, you know, you really got this right. And I said, no, you really got it right. It was that diligence. And interestingly, you know, I've really, my personal life has been a series of mentors, Dick Graham being one of them. Yeah. And when he was here on that last visit, he said to me, I've always known that the U of A had a good mineral collection. It wasn't a great collection, but it was really good. And he said, what you guys have done here is to take a good collection and make it look great.
Wow, that is high praise indeed coming from Dick. And if he's given the thumbs up on the stope there, then you really don't have anyone who could give it more of a stamp of approval. And we're going to miss him.
Exactly.
All right, so what we're looking at here is the changing mineralogy from southern Arizona and all the way into Mexico. And just the beautiful array of different minerals that you can find here. Some of my favorites in here are actually, where is it? This brochantite. I've never seen one that had such long needles on it. It's a little scary to handle. You look at it funny and it sheds.
Yeah.
And then I particularly love this piece of gypsum down here, which actually grew on a piece of wood. So it just serves as a reminder to how quickly some of these minerals actually form, whereas, you know, some take thousands of years or millions of years to form, but then you have some that it may take 15.
And many thanks to Peter McGaw, who we all know is Mr. Mexico as far as mineral collecting, really helped us out, gave us an abundance of mineral specimens. We understand he still has more, so it's not like we robbed him of everything he had.
Always has more.
And then again, you know, Les Presnick and Evan Jones filling in the gaps for all of our Arizona minerals. Highlighting the wide diversity that oftentimes people other than Arizona collectors don't realize, featuring wolfenite, all the different localities which became our state mineral in 2017 when a group of 8th grade, 9th grade students descended on our legislature with lithographies, calendar of the year featuring only Arizona wolfenites. What does it take to be a rock hound? You know, we want to keep this passion or addiction going. So we've put together a nice case here. I know this is one of Brian's favorite specimens featured. Brian, do you want to tell us about it?
Well, this is this shelf represents the field tools needed for field collectors, and I think that white, roundish, or cylindrical specimen on the far right is perhaps the most important. And a big shout out to Les Presmick for not donating it, but loaning it. And I believe at some point it has to return back to Les.
And then, of course, highlighting our gem, mineral, and lapidary clubs where people that are inspired can come and learn. And then we also wanted to introduce our newest intern as of yesterday. A lot of you will know, Maggie Lyons. Maggie, would you step this way so we can see you unshadowed? There we go. And Maggie is featured as one of our young collectors. So she was very gracious after winning at TGMS. Competition for young collectors to share her collection and what she likes to collect with all of us.
Well, I know Maggie has been on the What's Hot in Tucson program a few times, and I'm really thrilled to see that she's landed there, and she's now the Vanna White of the of this part of the exhibit.
Can I make one correction from something you said earlier?
Yes.
I was in 11th grade when we did the state legislature thing for the Wolfenite. I was part of that group.
Okay, so we'll expand
Wasn't
that.
just 8th and 9th grade.
We'll expand that out. Perfect.
Yeah, and it was their efforts, a large part of their efforts pushed Wolfenite to become the official state mineral of the state of Arizona.
Exactly. So this whole corner represents changing showcases. We hope this corner changes every gem show. We want to keep it fresh and new. We want all of you to keep coming back for more. We're also featuring a case from the Flag Mineral Foundation. We've got, yes, Maggie is doing again, minerals and lapidary art. Ann and Ed David, great supporters of our museum. A long-time loan of a fantastic collection of minerals, end of 2020, and donated the rest of the collection. You'll hear a little more about that later. Les Presmick, since we knew we were going to pick on him, we weren't sure how, but showcasing part of Les and Paula Presmick collection. And then Mark LaFont collection. Mark, a great supporter of the museum over many years, a lot of loans, really fantastic specimens. And then Robbie and Bill McCarty, their thumbnail collection, primarily Arizona, but we did squeeze in a few from Mexico. Robbie was previously on the Flandreau board, and she's currently on our board. I can't thank Robbie enough for her support of the museum in so many ways, especially encouraging me to keep going. One of the most revered specimens, and it's not going to show great. Yeah, actually it does. Number 35. It's a quartz perfect sphere from Kingman. No contact anywhere. I think typically people would call that a floater. I would call it levitating because I've looked at it up close and it's like it just formed in air. It's so perfect. And then we look at all the mining in Arizona, copper and lead mining as well, and how the minerals are similar yet different. And I'm probably going to freeze up as I go into our next area, which is the mining gallery, but I'll rejoin you in just a minute.
Yeah, during our test yesterday, we found this to be a weak spot in the Wi-Fi, but it looks like we had a smooth transition today. So, Eric, if you can still hear me, we're still getting your signal loud and clear.
Fabulous. And yesterday they kept tricking me, and even if we had a signal, they pretended they didn't.
Yeah, but that's just fun. Everybody would do that.
Open pit mines like we have at Ray, the new underground shaft in Superior for Resolution Mine, and then very importantly, the U of A mining the asteroid belt with OSIRIS-REx. Bennu is a very carbon-rich asteroid. Maybe trying to understand how did carbon act in the early formation of our solar system. President Robbins loves to bring guests to the museum, and this is his favorite spot. He is so proud of OSIRIS-REx project, and he will stand here and I won't say make people watch the whole video, but he highly encourages them to pay attention. And he gets so excited pointing out different features. And then here we have an interactive session. This is called our Crystal Lab. We have everyday products with a barcode. People can scan the barcode and it'll tell them what mineral is in there, why it's important, and why mining is so critical to our everyday lives. We have magnetism, we have old school mineralogy where you can do a virtual streak plate. You can do magnetism, you can do hardness, and then it will tally the results, and at the end you can identify the mineral. We also have touchable minerals. We know some people coming here have never handled a mineral, so we tried to find minerals with different textures, and people can actually touch these. We try to sanitize them throughout the day. Works very well. Crystal growth. So we show how crystal animations can work. We got this video content from a high school student in Germany that put it together. And then the favorite thing that I worked on in the museum, which guests are enjoying now, what is the cause of color for minerals? So we take quartz, corundum, and diamond, and we let people pretty much bake a cake using whatever trace element they like, and then it'll tell them what color they end up with. We have a fluorescent activity. It's great. Everybody said, this is great for kids. I can tell you it's great for everyone. We have a fluorescent gallery. We chose to make them glow all the time, and then we have a bypass light. This case is all Arizona fluorescence, owned by George Pullman. George really made this gallery what it is. He designed the lighting, loaned us the entire Arizona gallery, and then the lapidary materials, which are a little harder to see, but they're glowing pretty good today.
And George is he's gonna be exhibiting a bunch of his minerals, fluorescent minerals, at this year's TGMS show. So if you make it to the main show, make sure you check those out too.
Exactly. And we were just so fortunate to have that collaboration because George knows all there is to know about fluorescence. We have short, long, and mid-wave lights, and he came in and adjusted, he placed things. We are just very fortunate there. The Gem and Jewelry Gallery, so explaining kind of how does a gemologist or a gem scientist approach things. We've got a map showing where gem crystals form geographically, just under how they form geologically. And then highlighting the fact that we've got 5,600 different minerals that all have to fit into one of 7 crystal systems. So we have molecular models, shape models, antique German wood models, and then the actual mineral represented within. Again, touchables. So we highlight a jade boulder. People can touch and feel and then see beautiful jade jewelry so they can make that relationship really work. A beautiful labradorite. I like this one because it reminds me as you move and walk, It shifts in color, better in person, but it reminds me of the old paintings where the eyes follow you through the gallery. Mm-hmm. Another thing we're particularly proud of is our optical bench. So here we show color change with alexandrite. Of course, you can't see it. It's too washed out. Starstones, cat's eye, adulorescence of moonstone, schiller, and sunstone. And they're all mounted on track balls so they can be moved and people can actually see that optical effect move across the stone as opposed to being a stationary effect.
I love that exhibit. It's so well thought out and so well done.
Explaining transparent, translucent, and opaque. So we've got text, we've got stone sitting on it. If you can read it clearly, it's transparent. If you can read it fuzzy, it's translucent. If you can't read it at all, it's opaque. How much simpler can it be? Light interactions with prisms, and then being able to introduce a colored stone. And then an actual OPL gem spectroscope mounted in a magic black box with a red stone, so people can look and see where those absorption bands in a spectroscope are. Then we have three choices. They can match up the spectrums and identify the stone. We also have a mock-up of a gem refractometer. Again, they can see the shadow edge. They can determine if it's singly, doubly refractive over the limit and identify the stone. Very popular. Gem cutting. So we've highlighted with both equipment, cabbing machine, and a full series of cuts. How do we get these different shapes and areas? Gem carving, both a fixed shaft, a flex shaft, faceting. I'm going to skip this, don't look. And then diamond manufacture. You know, we were so fortunate. We had a partnership with Alma Diamonds and Crown of Light. We got to visit a diamond cutting factory in New York. I was just blown away because I'd never physically seen an actual diamond cutting machine working. You know, it's a closed industry. I guess I was so excited that they said, we'll put one on a pallet and send it to you. So they gave us this diamond cutting wheel, a brooding machine, which does the preliminary shaping. And then out of CZ, they cut us a series from a rough octahedron through all of the stages so people would be able to understand the stages of diamond manufacturing. And then Doug Malby, who's just so passionate about American mined, American cut stones. This is a collection of Oregon sunstone from 3 different localities. Spectrum contestants in here, full range of cuts. All of these donated to the U of A. And you know, our gemstone collection is fairly new and recent. And to have just this world-class collection as part of it, we just couldn't be more excited. He also donated 30 stones for our gem science and a half a pound of rough so people could really understand what was going on. He's working on quartzes now, North American quartzes, and that will be on exhibit probably next year. This showcase deals with transparent, translucent, and opaque. You know, we've defined it now. Mm-hmm. And we show people that everything doesn't have to be transparent to be beautiful. 2 examples of beautiful Sleeping Beauty turquoise from Sleeping Beauty Mine here in Arizona. Beautiful examples of gem art. Again, really indebted to the Somewhere in the Rainbow collection out of Phoenix. A great way to explore transparent, translucent, and opaque. We found a video talking about emeralds, and they basically go through the whole grading scale. So again, in 2 or 3 minutes, you can really understand quality factors of gem materials. A beautiful exhibit of jade showing the progression of color, the last one being very luminous, one of my favorites. Gemstones is art, but still wearable. And then again, to be fair, another set of changing showcases that we hope to switch out. The first case being the beautiful brooches of Paula Crevichet and a collaboration box with Nikolai Medvedev. Paula's already populated next year's exhibit and will have a handoff during Tucson this year. This one featuring primarily butterflies and spiders. And the next year, you just have to come and see. Another great partnership, American Jewelry Design Council. This is their topic, A Secret Garden, where the designers are able to create whatever inspires them. And we're so fortunate to be the showcase for that collection. Nikolai Medvedev needs no introduction, but the beautiful intarsia work that he's done. Interestingly, for a while, Nikolai was a painter. Fabulous. Everybody here wants that painting. I doubt we'll get it. And he did bronzes as well. So he spent some time in Sedona. I guess he needed a break from intarsia and created these beautiful wildlifes.
Both Paula and Nikolai were past guests on Mineral Talks Live, so check our archives if you want to see more of their fabulous work.
Jeff Morrison. So we wanted Raquel to feel at home. Main mine. Jeff has just been a fantastic supporter of the museum. Beautiful tourmaline crystals, a full range of color. Very unique. I'm not going to make any comments between Maine and California tourmalines. Who's got the better ones? But Jeff also, when crystals come out broken, he has them cut. Sean cuts a lot of these, and it's just great to be able to see cut and rough from one locality. And of course, we all know about watermelon tourmaline. It has a pink core and a green rind on it. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because the wonderful carvings from the Dreher family and a toad that was acquired by Somewhere in the Rainbow by Patrick's father, a single piece of tourmaline. You can see the outer green made up the lily pad and then just the inquisitive detail of the toad itself. Cameos by Andreas Roth, and then, cathedral windows in Germany are typically agate, a rich history of hundreds of years. One done for the owners of the Somewhere in the Rainbow collection with very thin, beautiful agate.
And that's a Munsteiner again.
Some people call this our invisible exhibit. By the time you get here for Tucson, it won't be invisible and you will be blown away. So I didn't want to share everything because then you feel like you've been there and done that. We also explore synthetics, simulants, and imitations. And then just this year, thanks to Brian Lees for arranging the long-term loan with Phoenix Silver of these specimens that were on display at the TGMS a few years back. 410 pounds, silver nuggets found in Globe, Arizona in 2018. Some of them actually breaching the surface, so people had walked on them for 4,000 years. But fortunately, our friends harvested those and have made them available on loan.
And those were debuted at I believe it was the 2019 TGMS show, and really was the talk of the show. Just incredible, incredible pieces. And I'm glad that they ended up there.
So happy. Our precious metals case, gold, silver, platinum, and copper. Copper is what led Arizona to statehood. It provided the infrastructure for the Industrial Revolution. It allowed the University of Arizona to be here. And we're thankful to copper because copper is king and copper is providing all of this for everyone's enjoyment. The Treasury. Again, this showcases primarily the Somewhere in the Rainbow collection, private collection out of Phoenix, curated by Shelley Sargent, who we all know and love. Birthstones.
And walking in here is such an experience. As odd as it sounds, the ceiling design there adds so much to the experience. I think you said that it echoes the facets in a cut stone, and there are also lighting effects that you can do, which I'm not going to ask you to do right now. But walking in here has such kind of a space-aged feel, and the exhibits are wonderful, 360 degrees. You can go around them, completely open. You have pieces facing all the different sides of the cubes there. Just, I love this. You could spend an hour just in this room.
Yes, and the ceiling intent is to mimic the table of a gemstone, and it's like you're inside looking out of the stone. What Brian's referring to is the happy hour mode, which, depending on the amount of your monetary donation, we can set up that for you.
I didn't know you officially named it.
I did it on the fly. Again, showcasing beautiful minerals, a full range of the colors that these stones, and then one-of-a-kind designs that just take everyone's breath away. I could spend an hour and a half talking about this collection, but I want to encourage those of you coming to Tucson. We're actually fortunate that Shelley Sargent, the curator, who knows more about this than anyone, will be here in the gallery space the first week of February. And I'm going to let her do all the talking to you one-on-one. She's so passionate about all of the collection and just a wealth of knowledge.
And really, hats off to Shelley and to the whole organization. This is such an incredible exhibit, and Shelley is such a great ambassador.
Absolutely.
Also a past guest on Mineral Talks Live.
Phenomenal gemstones, so interactions of light and matter, a constant theme in the museum. And I'm just going to pick one which is very near and dear to me. This necklace features a 2.7 something, maybe, I don't know, I'm not big on weights. That's a North Carolina emerald. And when I first met Shelley in London working for Gem A, she embarrassed me, as she does to this day. And then she said, we've been looking for a good North Carolina emerald, but I don't think one exists. I said, I know where there's one. My mentors for many years collected that, designed it, had it made. They actually took it. Art Grant cut the stone. Glenn and Kathleen Bolick were my mentors. They parked in Art Grant's driveway while he cut it. They did not want to let that stone out of their possession. They drove to California. My understanding is GIA had to adjust the refractive index for emeralds based on that stone.
Wow.
I think if that moment in time hadn't occurred, we might not have this gallery. It's how I met Shelley. I introduced Shelley to the university. Everything fell into place. Shelley's on our advisory board as well. I'll highlight the line of Mineralogy. This is cushion cut, saburite garnet, 116 carats, cut by Victor Tuzlatoff. In Tucson, it was acquired by Bruce Bridges. Anyone that knows what a saburite is certainly knows Bruce. It was a partnership with Somewhere in the Rainbow. It was donated to the Smithsonian the end of last year. One of the conditions of the donation was that we could showcase that at Tucson this year. So we are deeply indebted to the Bridges family, Somewhere in the Rainbow, as well as the Smithsonian. I mean, how great can it be when you have partners like that?
Absolutely. And I was actually lucky enough to film that rough stone rotating 360 degrees right before it was cut. And to my knowledge, it's the only 360 degree view of that rough Savarite, incredible piece, before it was cut. So I was trying to get that so I'd have it available here to show today, but I couldn't pull it from the archives fast enough. But Eric, let me know if you want that file and I'll get it over to you.
As I said earlier, the answer is always yes.
Done.
So why don't we switch over to Susan now and let her tell you about her life at the museum.
All right, so let's go ahead and spotlight Susan's camera. There she is, and we're going to mute Eric. He's already muted. So Susan, tell us about where you are and what you do down there.
Well, currently I'm in our classroom, and hopefully Eric will join me shortly, but I'm the curator at this museum, and I'm basically a collections manager at this point. We're kind of working on getting our database up and running, and I'm excited to start doing inventory.
Fantastic. And so tell us what is going on down in the basement there before you walk us around. So kind of give us an idea of what we're about to see before we actually go see it.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a classroom space, which is where we'll start our tour, that has a library, and my intern Maggie, which you've already met, is in there working away. We have a community lab, and we will go past our another lab space, and I'll kind of talk about what type of equipment we're going to get in there to do some research. And then we'll go in the two back spaces, which is the prep area and our storage facilities.
Terrific. Now, Susan, is this downstairs area available for anybody, or do you have to be a U of A student? How do you get access to these educational programs?
Well, typically at this point, because of COVID, it's very limited to who can access these spaces. It's
Right.
Just mostly staff and then an intern or two. But we're hoping down the road, when we get everything up and running, that we'll have a lot of student interaction. So students can come and either take lab courses here or supplement some of their, on-campus studies with some research in our lab.
And there'll be an online sign-in process or something?
Hopefully, yeah. Once we get some equipment, that way we don't duplicate times for those.
Wonderful. Okay. And how many students can you accommodate in the facilities down there?
That is a question for Eric, and he just walked in, so I'm going to mute myself and then continue on that.
Okay.
Yes. So we have 24 workstations. We are so thankful to be in partnership with GIA. They were redoing their classrooms recently in COVID times. And they offered us desks. If we wanted desks, the answer, of course, is yes. I've always liked this setup. As we progress through, Duncan Pay being on our board, we were able to get the donation of 25 great gem scopes, not to be too secular in our museum. They're also great for mineralogy as well. Brand new refractometers, polariscopes, spectroscopes, dichroscopes for every single workstation here. So again, we're just really indebted to our partnership with GIA. We have taught a couple of Gem A lab classes down here. We hope to do some community outreach as well, offer classes to the general public. So it's just really exciting times for us here at the museum.
I was just going to say, we just taught a gem science course on campus, and we brought a lot of this stuff there, but we did have a couple on-campus days where the students were able to come and utilize that space. So that was really cool.
Fantastic.
We can just take a quick peek into our library, which we've populated so far by donations. And it's
still in the process of being organized. Maggie's working very hard back here. But we're hoping
Hello
to
again.
be able to
Maggie.
utilize for students and other traveling researchers. Moving right along, shall we?
We shall.
All right, we're gonna head straight and past our community lab, which is another lab space that we're hoping to have some student involvement and help them kind of figure out how to test different gem materials and mineral materials and basically get involved in the museum that way. Oh, yes, and a lot of this was just funded by a provost grant very recently, so we're excited to get this up and running soon.
You know, it occurs to me if you open an Airbnb down there, you're going to have that filled 365 days a year.
You know, I felt like I was living here for over the past year. I moved into the lower level. That space was actually my office when no one was in the building while they were building out. And the contractors would leave at 3:30 every day, and I would go upstairs and be up there till 6 or 7, just every day seeing the change and the transition. The provost grant, we were fortunate. We got Susan a very nice petrographic microscope. We got a gem microscope, and we also got the complete Magi instrument lineup of instruments. So we've got a Gemo Raman, a Gemo FTIR, a UV Viz, and a, what's that other thing? Diamond Screener, EXA, high intensity UV light. Again, those instruments are good for looking at things up to 1 inch. So it can do minerals, it can do gemstones. We can look at treatments. We can look at fillers. We can differentiate some of the synthetics. They're very easy to learn, so we anticipate students running that part of our process.
Eric, you're making Eloise and Raquel swoon right now.
You know, it's what I do. You know, it's like Casanova for the mineral world.
Looks a little empty at the moment, but that's because we're working on outfitting it with lots of really cool stuff. One of which we're hoping to get a single crystal XRD, an SEM, several other microscopes, and other multi-laser Raman. Am I forgetting anything? Probably.
No, that's pretty good.
Anyway, so that's what this space will be utilized for, and we're hoping to get a lot of student, both undergrad and graduate researchers to use this space once it's up and running, as well as any traveling researchers from other museums or other universities.
And this is where the smart people have their office. That's Susan and Elizabeth, not me. At one point, I thought about moving in with them briefly, but they didn't seem keen on that. So I know my place.
Eric, just be content with being the smooth talking one.
Okay.
So we're gonna head back to some of my favorite areas. And hopefully Eric doesn't trip as he's walking backwards. So this is the Pima County Courthouse. So this is where a lot of the court records were housed, and we have some really cool artifacts from that time, which is these vault doors. So this is the back side, and we're going to walk around and see the front side. Just a fun fact.
We're actually in what was the original vault from 1929.
I love that you kept the vault doors there.
And here's the front. I just think they're really cool.
They're awesome.
And next up, we're going to go into my favorite room, which isn't a lot to look at, but it's my favorite. So this is the prep room where I spend a lot of my time, because this is my job security, is going through all of these flats and starting to catalog and inventory all that. We also just got several printers, so we're also working on hooking up a large plotter in here so we can print banners and other things for the museum.
Yeah, and a special thanks to the Mining Foundation of the Southwest, who funded 2 printers, vinyl cutter, and a state-of-the-art computer to really help us, do what it is we need to do here. So, again, it's those partnerships and finding a connection with people that is special for them. And we do appreciate that on every level.
That's great.
And last but not least, let's move into our storage facility.
Are you sure you want to show them the special place?
Are we worthy is the question.
I'm sure there's some here that are, so let's do it.
We'll allow it today. So this is our high density storage facilities. I like to point out this picture and make people try and guess what it is on their way in.
Anyone? It is not the Catalina Mountains behind Tucson. It's a little bit farther away. Go ahead. Tell them where it is, Susan.
It's actually a picture from Mars.
That's Claire Scragg. Got it correct. Oh, Les Presmick. Well, Les, of course, you know where it is. You've been down there. But so Claire wins the award.
Excellent. So this is another one of my favorite places. It's a lot of empty storage room now, but we've got a lot of really cool high density rolling storage, which once I get to, cataloging everything, we're going to move things in here permanently.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's taking her so long to get this stuff done, but
well, she's always dilly-dallying in front of the camera. You know how it is. These youths.
Twiddling my thumb. So lots of extra storage and smaller pieces in here, as well as large pieces, which we're trying to figure out what to do with. So then shall we move into our special collection?
yeah, so another room, another set of vaults.
And I correctly guessed Susan's password is pizza, so those who are down there and you need to type it in, there you go.
My favorite food. So this is our special collections room. Also doubles as a boardroom. So we got this beautiful table donation. I'm totally blanking on, you're gonna have to help me.
So this is a single slab of Claro walnut from California, donated by the Werner family, John and Gabi Werner. It has a river of turquoise from Patagonia, Arizona, that has been cut through the center of it. Big boulder. This was done by Z Hag, a lot of you will know. And just what a fantastic donation that John and Gabi gave us for this special room.
And then the
Incredible table.
pieces showcased in the wall are from the Ann and Ed David collection, and they are curated and kind of put in there by our exhibit specialist, Elizabeth, before I got here. And this is one of my favorite rooms.
And so it's a great opportunity for us to pick amazing specimens that can be rotated in and out upstairs. And again, just, pay special attention to someone like Ann David and Ed's passion for collecting and all the support that they've given the university. It's a way we can give back and highlight this and make it available for people that, truly will appreciate. And then we've got another little room to the side.
Yep, so these pieces are on loan from Markle Funds.
I hope Mark's not looking because we really wanted to showcase this for him in person during the show, but he'll get to see what we selected from his collection. Again, a long-term loan, and we certainly appreciate Mark's passion for minerals and fossils and meteorites and sharing it with all of you through us.
Fantastic.
One more little area, and then we're going to call it a day. This is exhausting.
Unfortunately, we have had some people that have had to go because we're now at an hour and a half. So I always like to say it's the best 90-minute, 1-hour show on the internet. But Eric, you might not have heard it, but I'm going to release this next week so that everyone gets a chance to watch it in its entirety.
Wow, I got quick service, didn't I?
Indeed.
So this is our last special collections room from Gene Myron.
And look at those amethyst and calcites, just fantastic. And that slab, I was saying Eloise has a similar slab in at her museum, and just wonderful to look at. Beautiful piece.
And we'll give you a little sneak preview. Gene has loaned us his entire Trilliant collection. We put a few out on display, again, letting Elizabeth pick and choose her favorites. If we ask her to pick and choose again tomorrow, there'd be a different set of favorites. But again, just so happy to have these collaborations for loans, donations, any support for the museum whatsoever.
And a good portion of those trillions were recently on display at the Hard Rock Summit show in September, organized by, the show was organized by Christoph Keilman, but Julian Gray did a wonderful job of setting up the exhibit, and can't wait to see it fully exhibited there at the Alfie Norville Museum. Eric, I'm going to switch over into the 5 quick-fire questions, and then we're going to go straight into the Q&A. I know you're tired, and I know that we're way over time, but let's go ahead and let's do this. So let's get you situated. Are you ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. And again, I think you understand how this works. I've got 5 questions, 2 answers to each question. All of your answers are correct. We want to see how the studio audience replied to all these questions. So we're going to ask you these questions. Your response has just got to be straight off the gut right away, okay? Here we go. Question number 1. Favorite type of seashell, cones or cyprids?
Cyprids.
Cyprids. Question number 2. Favorite alcoholic beverage, tequila or bourbon?
You got this one right, bourbon.
Question number 3. Favorite meat to prepare, pork or beef?
Pork.
Pork. Number 4. Favorite vacation destination, North Carolina or Tennessee?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. And the final, perhaps most important question to see which side of the line you fall on, opals or operculums?
I'm going to say opals. I love everything about opals, so let's go with opal.
Good answers. All right, Eloise, or who's doing it today? Eloise or Raquel? Raquel. Eloise, she pointed at you.
Go for it, Elo.
Okay.
You know what? It's. I think it's someone who knows you very well that helped us a bit here.
Thanks to Paul Harder out there. All right. Question number 1. Favorite seashell, cones or cyprids? Eric chose cyprids. What did our audience say?
Cyprids.
Wow. Terrific. Okay. Favorite alcoholic beverage, tequila or bourbon? Eric, of course, chose bourbon. What did our audience say?
Of course, they chose bourbon as well.
Ooh, I think these people know Eric. Favorite meat to prepare, pork or beef? Eric went with pork.
Nah, but people went with beef. It was the other choice. But...
Okay. They're still doing pretty well. Favorite vacation destination, North Carolina or Tennessee? Eric chose the North. What did they say?
North Carolina as well. Yes, it was no deal.
And final, most important question: opals or operculums? Eric went with
Thank you
opals.
for all answering opals.
Terrific. That's 4 out of 5. All of you are winners. That means go to the Alfie Norville Museum and have a great treat. Let's open it up for Q&A. Raquel, Eloise, what are some questions that our readers have that Eric can answer right now?
Eric, there were so many comments about how impressive the museum is. So thank you so much. We were all in awe many times, looking forward to see it in person. I think we have a few more questions related more logistic to the museum. So one of them is, are vaccination required for the staff and visitors?
Vaccines are not required at the museum, just masks properly worn. And we provide masks if you need one.
Great. Are there any benches in the gallery for those of us who can stand for hours?
Yes, we have 4 benches. We could have 400 and it wouldn't be enough, but we do have 4. We also have taken a little different approach. Everyone gets a sticker that they can wear. It's good for admission all day. I showed you the courtyard this morning. There are a dozen tables out there. There's a coffee shop. We often have people with sensory overload. They take a little break, go outside. Lots of good eating around town. The pass is good all day. So yes, there's ways to decompress.
And let me add that the coffee shop also has little sandwiches that you can get as well. So if you don't want to walk a block or 2 blocks to go to a restaurant or something, you can get food and drinks right there in the courtyard.
Very important. Another question, will you offer mineral identification and analysis for collector?
Boy, that's a loaded question, isn't it, Raquel? Are you going to send all those people that send you stuff to me now? So part of our community lab space, the intent is to give an indication of identification. We're not going into the lab business. We're not taking over for appraisers. We do think we can provide a service to people that inherited grandma's jewelry, or that, we could accommodate any thumbnail specimen. We're happy to ramen those. There will be some kind of a charge. We don't know what that is. We've got to get the equipment in. But we're not going to do full-blown identifications. There's only 4 of us. And, while we all love doing that, we actually have a real job too.
Who can view the special collections areas?
Yes, Raquel, you can.
What was the question?
Who can view special collections?
Well, the special collections, yes. It requires probably the bringing of a bottle of beverage for access. But one of our goals is, and Susan has already started this year, providing samples for researchers. I know it's been a little problematic for people in the past. We do have our database pretty much online that Bob Downs created, the Open Data Repository with NASA. We've had several people that have reached out. We have certainly tried to provide samples for researchers on any level. We also want to make the lab available for people that may not have access to that equipment that are trying to do some research for the community.
So I guess if someone wants to see some of the special collections, they will have to contact you or Susan and see if you can accommodate. I guess like similar like we all do as in our museums. Okay.
Yes, Susan's the point of contact. Past COVID, when we get a little more organized, we want to make things accessible. Yes.
Great. And then one last question. Are museum memberships available, and what's the admission costs?
Yes, so admission right now is $15 general admission, $10 for seniors, $5 for student and military. We do have yearly memberships. It's $69 for an individual, $99 for a couple, and $149 for a family. Susan visited the Rice Museum, and we really liked what they did. A family is good for up to 5 people as long as one of the primary family members is there. So we're not limiting it to blood family. you can bring 5 friends. And we've already had people that have bought family memberships just to be able to bring their guests in the museum as they come to town.
Very nice. Thank you. I think that's it from our side, Brian.
Terrific. Okay, well, I want to extend our thanks to Eric, to Susan, and to the entire Alfie Norville Gem and Mineral Museum crew. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I don't even think I have to encourage you viewers to go visit the museum. Just by watching that video, how could you not want to go in the museum? And also remember that if you have specimens and things that you want to donate, this is a great opportunity. It's a great museum that you can donate to. So that's going to do it for our show today. Thank you all for tuning in. Our next show is going to be February 2nd, and we are going to be doing a live Mineral Talks live broadcast show from Tucson. So hope you all tune into that show. In the meantime, remember, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. There's a lot of the Omicron that's going on out there. So please, each one of you, you're very valuable and you're very important. So keep safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next month. Take care. Aloha.